Hey there, guys. Manbear Pope here. Today, I want to do something that's a little bit different from my typical content. I want to discuss, or maybe go on a bit of a rant is more appropriate, about Blizzard and the whole Overwatch 2 PvE situation specifically. Uh, by now, we all know what's happened. There's no PvE content for Overwatch 2, with Blizzard having come out and made the announcement a while ago now. I think we've all had time to understand and digest that. Now, what that effectively leaves us with is Overwatch 1 with a battle pass system and a couple new maps. Which, to be frank, isn't great. It's fine if you're somebody who likes throwing away money, but it's not that wonderful if you want to play a game and actually enjoy what you've already purchased and not be hounded to constantly buy a battle pass or hounded to pay a few extra dollars, or really more than a few extra dollars, to get a new skin or whatever else you might want for a given character. I really think Blizzard failed miserably here, and I can't overstate that fact. It wasn't a case where they merely shot their foot off. I think they took one foot off. They then took the time to disassemble the gun, clean it, reassemble it, reload it, took careful aim at the other foot, and pulled the trigger again. Which of course left them to fall flat on their face, as we saw on that developer stream the other day. They didn't even drop the ball here. They forgot the ball back at home. Now, I think Overwatch 2 has its fair share of problems. I think the battle pass system isn't that great. I think just overall the game in and of itself shows a lack of imagination and a lack of innovation on the part of Blizzard. And I think probably most damning is the lack of communication and transparency that Blizzard had with its player base and with its customers. Going back to the battle pass system for a second, I don't think that for what you're paying for it, it's worth it to get. Maybe if you have some coins left over from Overwatch 1 and you buy the battle pass that way, then maybe it's worth it. I don't know. I'd be curious to see what people thought down in the comments. But I also think that their lack of innovation with Overwatch 2 is a severe problem. I think they sort of found themselves in an Overwatch 1 shaped box, and they just sort of shoehorned, a couple new maps, some new character designs, and a new game mode into that, and said, "Oh wow, isn't this crazy? Isn't this great?" But on the back end of that, and this is what's really galling, they said, "Oh, there's going to be all this PvE content coming. It's going to be great. Just you wait. It's going to be wonderful." We all know how that turned out. I think most damning, however, for Blizzard in particular, and especially as a public company, and especially as a video game company, is that they just have not had a great track record of communication and transparency to their player base. I think this is probably the most obvious issue that they had, but I personally believe it speaks more to the culture at Blizzard and Blizzard's management team than anything else. Now we know that they apparently were sitting on the knowledge that they weren't going to do PvE content for a while, and they sat on that content, I would presume, because saying that they weren't going to do PvE, again, which was effectively the whole point of Overwatch 2, would have drastically reduced Overwatch 2's sales. I think they sat on it to wait for Overwatch 2 to sell more so they would make more money. And then, keep in mind, if you have a game sold, they're probably going to hook one or two players on that battle pass too. They didn't want to disrupt their cash cow. But sitting on bad news like that never does anyone any good. Blizzard should have simply come clean when they knew PvE wasn't going to get done as soon as that decision was made. Instead, again, they sat back and waited. The weight of that news dropping on the public, dropping on their player base, was only going to increase the longer they waited. And as someone who's personally done project management, communication with your stakeholders is always key. If you fail in that, then there's a good chance your overall project is going to fail. So they dropped the ball there too. I also think it's very telling that you have folks, especially streamers who were partnered with Blizzard, guys like Flats. And again, I'm in no way, shape, or form trying to shame any of them or trying to draw any ire in their direction. So please don't go off on a tangent and say, oh, these are terrible people. They absolutely are not. They were people who enjoyed a game and enjoyed a product that was put out, and then, like the rest of us, were let down. But I think it's very telling when you have even those people come out and say, yeah, no, this is bad. This is real bad. And ultimately, Overwatch 2 was sold on the strength of its PvE content. It was an entire game that they said, the best is yet to come, just you wait. And the player base waited patiently and waited and continued to be patient until they dropped the hammer news that it wasn't actually happening. And I know they've come out and said, oh, well, we're going to do a couple things here and there, but it is no longer going to be that entire story mode that it was, what it should have been. Unfortunately, we now know much of that content is simply never coming. Instead, the world of Overwatch is going to remain stagnant. Its characters are going to be two-dimensional, and its players are going to be standing there like little orphan Annie saying, please, sir, may I have some more? But that's just my thoughts on it. I'm curious as to what you all think, as to what people who have played this game, like me, for years think on this. And I'd be real damn curious to see if there's anybody from Blizzard who knows anything, what they think. Because I think this has been an absolute travesty. And I think this should be a wake-up call for Blizzard management. Not that I have any hopes there. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening to this. So I'm going to leave it. Again, let me know down in the comments how you guys feel about this, where you think Blizzard fell short, or what you think Blizzard should have done differently to communicate this better. But anyway, I'm going to end it here. Thank you, guys. I will see you next time.